Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming today and joining us for the Grand Forks Nonprofit Listening Session in regards to COVID-19. My name is Katie Dockler, and I serve on the Grand Forks City Council. We know you're all hard at work supporting not only our community members, but also your organization's staff and volunteers, as well as taking care of your own families, and we are extremely appreciative of it. In a time of unknowns and heightened anxiety and fear, nonprofits play a unique and necessary role in calming fears and supporting all people in being safe and secure. I, along with many others, I'm sure, have been encouraged by the stories that have been coming across my social media feeds, retelling instances of humanity at its best, whether it's curbside pickups, of delivery of food baskets, or organizations giving away free lunches, agencies developing materials to get out information in all languages, to emergency COVID-19 programs developed to help people experiencing housing, employment, food insecurity, and more. It's in these stories that I am reminded why Grand Forks is cooler, and it's because we take to heart what it means to be legendary. And while the city does not have all the answers, we wanted to make sure to learn from and include all of our nonprofit partners by asking for your input. Whether they are suggestions, questions, or just the sharing of your resources, because you are the boots on the ground that are doing the work and providing the services to people that cannot wait or do without. It's important that we learn from each other in order to cohesively serve all people in the best manner possible. So these listening sessions are the first step in ensuring that we do just that. We'll be sharing the information that we're gathering here from this listening session with our partners, as well as with all of you. Our goal is to best serve you and all the community members in the coming days of the COVID crisis by doing it together. So today I am joined by our panelists, Grand Forks Mayor Michael Brown, as well as Terry Hansen, the Director of the Grand Forks Housing Authority, Rachel Hafner, President of the Nonprofit Business Alliance, Heather Everson, President of the Community Agency Networking Association, and Becca Bombach, Executive Director of the Grand Forks Community Foundation. Thank you all for joining us today. I am going to circle back now and ask our panelists to share just a brief outline of what services that they're currently offering through their entities in order to get us started. Mayor Brown, are you with us? Would you care to begin?
I am, and I want to thank everyone for participating, and I look forward to hear what's coming. So thank you.
And Terry?
Yes. Hi. Good afternoon, everybody. Terry Hansen with the Grand Forks Housing Authority. Grand Forks Housing Authority is open for business, although the front doors are locked to the public. We are operating all of our programs at the present time. And I will say that there is funding available. I would ask if any of your clients, any of the nonprofits that are on the line, if any of your clients have lost their employment or had their income reduced, they should notify us immediately if they are currently on assistance, because we can reduce their required monthly payment almost immediately based on their reduction in income. In addition to the resources we already have, there is more resources that will be coming. Today, the House has passed House Resolution 748, which provides additional funding to all of the programs that the Housing Authority administers, as well as $4 billion to the Homeless Assistance Grant, which I know many of your organizations receive funding through that Homeless Assistance Grant. And of that, if you haven't heard, that $2 billion of that $4 billion will be immediately appropriated to under the same proration as was your 2020 allocation. So you should be receiving that, and I think they have it in, that must be available to you within 30 days. You may be notified within 30 days. And also in that bill, they allocated an additional $5 billion towards Community Development Block Grant, which the city, as an entitlement city, will be receiving an allocation from those funds. So that there are additional funds coming to help us all get through these trying times. And if there's anything that any of you need help with or believe that we can assist your clients, please give me a call, and we will try to take immediate and appropriate steps to assist you.
Thank you, Terry. Rachel, would you like to share?
Hi, yeah, I'm Rachel Hafner, and I'm the director of the Arc Upper Valley here in Grand Forks. And it lists me on the program as being president of the Nonprofit Business Alliance. That's a little bit prestigious. I'm a co-chair, and that was bequeathed to me by some retired executive directors when they stepped away from the Nonprofit Business Alliance. At the ARC, we are available to individuals and families to do advocacy work via phone or via email. Most people know how to find us if they have a question, and I'm sure our work will start to increase as we start to get children back into school, because we want to make sure that all of those children are accessing special education services appropriately and equally to their peers. Right now, we're kind of in the throes of all of our business operations have had to shut down. Our two main funders is charitable gaming and our thrift store, and we're not able to operate any of those things right now. So we are trying to get creative and find ways to keep our employees on the payroll as much as possible for their health and well-being, and just for continuity of doing business. And so for me, I have a lot more questions than answers, but I do feel like I'm a good connector. And so if people do have questions and I don't know the answer, I'm always willing to seek out those answers or connect you to someone else who maybe knows the answer. So that's me.
Thank you. And Heather, you're next.
Yay! My name is Heather Everson, and I am with the co-chair for the Kenna Group, which is the Community Agencies Networking Association. And we're a group of agencies and organizations that come together to advocate for ending homelessness through the community of awareness, outreach, prevention, and civic engagement. We have a variety of different agencies and organizations that are with us, that some provide human services, others provide domestic violence services. There's the public schools, food shelf information, Lutheran social services. There's health on here as well, plus a lot of other agencies on here. So, you know, there's a lot of information that we can try and help out with, a lot of resources that we have. And I'm also the advocate trainer for Options Resource Center for Independent Living. So if anybody has any questions in regards to individuals with disabilities and how we're trying to work with them, I can try and share information on that as well.
Perfect. And Becca?
Thanks. Well, first off, thank you to the City of Grand Forks for hosting this opportunity for all of us. As mentioned, my name is Becca Baumbach, and I'm the Executive Director of the Community Foundation of Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, and region. I know this has and will continue to be a very difficult time for many, if not all of our nonprofits across our region. The foundation has felt it too, as we watch the crash of the markets and with it, many of our endowment dollars. But just like in 2008, I know we'll find a way to recover, to work together, to find solutions and opportunities through this. Over the past 2 weeks, we have been working closely with our fellow North Dakota funders. Those include Otto Bremer, Bush, FM Area Foundation down in Fargo, Dakota Medical Foundation, Impact Foundation, North Dakota Community Foundation, and others across the state to ensure that we're focusing our efforts to meet both the short-term and the long-term needs of all of our communities. We're drawing a lot of our information from a survey that was distributed by Dakota Medical Foundation and Impact. It collected information from 230 nonprofits in North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota. From that, we know that there are 40% of charities that are not able to offer remote work as an option. Nearly half of our nonprofits have or will have had to cancel a significant fundraising event by the end of this. 80% do not have a plan to replace lost revenue, and 12% anticipate reducing staff size, with nearly 40% still are unsure at this time. And we know that these results are not isolated just to health and human service organizations. Arts and culture, community engagement, environmental and human rights organizations are at risk as well, due to canceled events, lost or increase of services, decrease in donations, and unexpected expenses such as remote work and technology. In our response, we have launched a nonprofit relief fund to provide assistance to nonprofits in Grand Forks and Walsh counties in North Dakota and Polk County in Minnesota. The fund is currently receiving contributions, but we hope to initiate the grant making process in the next 2 to 4 weeks. I know that is a long time, and we are doing what we can to make sure that there's resources in that fund to actually distribute grants that will make a difference to you. Additionally, we just released a resources page on our website. There's a link on the main page with some operating and funding opportunities, and these include opportunities in our immediate and surrounding region, and quite a few opportunities in Minnesota as well, as we do represent Polk County. So gofoundation.org is where you can find those resources. And like you, we are operating remotely at this time, so we might be a bit slower to be reached by email or phone, but we're still here. If you do have endowments with us, I know we have a significant number of nonprofit endowments, and you have not requested your distribution and would like to do so, just go ahead and send us an email and we'll get that process and out to you. And for everyone else, if there's something that we can do to help you, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you, everyone. For all of those who have joined us, I would like to point out that during today's listening session, that all participants, other than our panelists and myself, will be muted. And we're doing that, and we're asking you to utilize the chat option to ask your questions or your concerns and to share any solutions or resources that you have with all of those who are in attendance today. The chat function can be found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. It's the little speaking bubble that you can click on and put in the information. You already noted who you are and what organizations that you are representing or with. I'll do my best to monitor the chat, to ask the questions to the panelists, as well as share any of the resources and ideas that you shared during the limited time that we have today. Another reason that we're actually using this chat function is that it allows us to record and retain a transcript of all of the comments that are received and submitted. This allows us to go back and ensure that we're able to follow up with anything that may have not been discussed today, so that you don't leave without having a question answered, or at least having somebody know of it so that they can follow up with you later. So with that said, I think we are going to get started. So if you, again, would like to use that chat option at the bottom of your screen to start kind of typing in those questions, those concerns that you may have, or to share some of the things that your organizations are doing during this time, we would love for you to do that. I'll give you a couple of minutes. While we're waiting, we don't even have to wait. So one of the first questions that we have is, what has been the response from our U.S. congressional representatives and senators regarding nonprofit needs in North Dakota? And so I guess one of these, Mayor Brown, would you like to answer that question, or maybe even Becca, would you like to jump in?
Does Mayor Brown have a response to that?
No, I would be happy to listen.
I do not have a distinct answer to that question. I know I've been following the North Dakota Association of Nonprofits, NADANO, and they have been doing a lot of outreach, a lot of advocacy work, providing a lot of different materials for nonprofits to get acquainted with the bill that was, I believe, just passed today. And what that has to do with nonprofits and the opportunities that are going to be available through that. And I'm trying to get out of my screen here so I can get to their website. On that topic, though, Mark Schill from Praxis did share with me today an opportunity for nonprofits to join a webinar next Monday. Let me pull up the information, and it's going to be hosted by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. And It's going to be an online briefing on how 501c3 nonprofits can benefit from the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act. I will go ahead and put this in the chat function. And this is on March 30th at 12:30 Eastern time. And you can register via this link.
Hey, Katie, this is Andy from the city. I'm just checking the chat here. It looks like Jennifer from NDANO volunteered to answer that question. I could go to her and unmute her if you'd like.
That would be great. There's also a note in here from Keith Lund, who also said that it looks like nonprofits with less than 500 employees are also eligible for most of the benefits of the CARES Act that was just recently passed by Congress as well. And then I'm also going to share just this little bit of information that popped up from Janelle Regenball, that more information about public policy changes are underway that the governor unveiled yesterday. And she included a link in the comments to the DHS website for more specifics. Also noting that with so many centers and family programs closed, she and LSS and other providers are hoping that it is hoped that this will bring assistance to bringing care back and available to the critical labor force. Adam Kurtz also chimed in to say that also nonprofits can get SBA disaster loans at a reduced interest rate.
That's 2.75% instead of the 3.75%.
Perfect, thank you, Becca. And then yes, if Andy, if you would like to unmute Jennifer, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Hi, this is Jennifer Greil. I'm the Executive Director for the North Dakota Association of Nonprofit Organizations. And thanks, Cynthia Schab is from Global Friends, and she had invited me to your call. We have had contact with Senators Hoeven, Kramer, and then Representative Armstrong about the needs of nonprofits. There is some relief in that recent CARES Act, and I can send that to somebody on the call, and you can get it out to everybody in Grand Forks if you want. It just kind of summarizes what's in the CARES Act for nonprofits. As someone said, there is the small business loans. One thing that there's also a charitable giving incentive. It's an above the line deduction for total charitable contributions of up to $300. It won't start until 2020 tax forms. So we're working with the National Council to try and get that, the $300 increase so that it'll be more of an effect, and to see if we can work on anything that will go back to the 2019 tax year. Another thing we're working on is any nonprofits that have self-funded unemployment insurance. Right now, that's only being refunded at half of the cost of benefits. So we're trying to get that increased to 100%. There's talk of that happening in a fourth coronavirus bill. Otherwise, we're also going to be in contact with Governor Burgum about the possibility of reimbursing nonprofits more for that. So I can get this summary out and let me know if you have any other questions.
Jennifer, I'm not sure if you saw the chat box, but if you could just take a peek there and send that information over to Meredith Richards, our Community Development Director for the city. We've also included her email there. We'd really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing that information with everyone here today.
No problem, and thank you all for everything you're doing in Grand Forks.
So I'm wondering, we don't have any questions right now that are coming through the chat box, but I'm also wondering if, Heather, would you be willing to share maybe some of the information that you've been able to pull together through CANA, the Community Agency Networking Association, since it is far-reaching and it kind of gathers everybody into one cohesive spot for information sharing. Is there anything that you didn't already share that you would like to kind of go back and flesh out a little bit more?
Well, yeah, I can do that. I was looking at some of the email responses that I had gotten back earlier today when I wanted updates from the different agencies and organizations that we have with CANA. I was told that Polk County Social Services building is going to be locked as of Monday. And Tri-Valley is going to be working remotely, just for anybody who's on the East Grand Forks side. Our Kenna Group covers Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, just so everybody knows that. So we have resources for both sides of the river. St. Joseph's Food Pantry said that they are going to be doing their food pantry operations next week. They're going to do, let's see, you'll need to call them at their phone number that they have between 10 and noon on the day that you want to pick up your pre-packed food items. You can leave a voicemail if you need to, and then they'll try and call you back. They're saying that they're going to do the food pantry will operate Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 2 to 4. And that could change, you know, as time goes on. My Alley Health, they have some temporary clinic hours that are going to start on Monday. They'll be there Monday through Thursday from 11 to 4 p.m. They are working with limit contact as much as possible, so they ask that people call ahead of time to schedule their appointments, and if they can come alone, so that way they don't have too many people in the waiting room. Let's see, what else do I have here? NDAD, they have closed their administrative offices to the public, but are continuing to provide vital assistance. Their staff continues to provide services by working on-site or remotely to practice the social distancing. And staff can communicate with their clients by phone or email. I know that NDAD as well as Options have both stopped doing their equipment loan programs that we offer due to the coronavirus that's going around. We're not having equipment donated or putting equipment out at this time due to that the coronavirus happening right now. I'm going through all my emails here. So Mountain Brook, they have temporarily closed. They're going to work as closely as they can with their members with Warm Line, Zoom for peer support, and the food baskets as needed. They're all working remotely right now as well. Spectra Health continues to remain open from 7:30 to 5:30 daily. They have had to suspend their late clinic hours on Tuesdays due to the COVID-19. They are not able to do face-to-face encounters at this time, but are accommodating using video or phone calls to meet with the patient's needs. The dental clinic is only taking patients experiencing any bleeding or swelling or emergent dental needs at this time. Their business office is closed to the public. So, I mean, there's a couple of different things where people are doing different things, or they're just not doing stuff right now. Okay. Salvation Army building is closed to the public except for donations. And they are serving 5 times more households for the food pantry than they normally do. And they're doing a drive-through food pantry and donations only. So donations could be done between 9 and 4 p.m. at the East door. They are in need of food and cash donations. So that's what that is. Job service is closed to the public. They're in the office to answer phone calls and emails if anybody needs anything from them. They have a website for filing for unemployment. If anybody needs any assistance, that they can get in contact with job service.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick here. We have some questions now that are popping up in the chat, and I want to get back to them. I think one of the things, even that I struggle with too, with my own family and my own kids, is talking about social distancing and what does that really mean, and how do you stay connected at the same time as you're social distancing, especially when we put it into the framework of some of the clients that we are working with. It causes some unique challenges, I think, for nonprofits to get the word out, but then to also reassure and assist the families that you were created to help. I think I'm going to ask Rachel. I know you work with the unique population, but then also I think I'm going to ask Becca, too, what are some of the things that you are telling clients or that you're telling organizations, other nonprofits that you work with, how to emphasize the social distancing, the physical social distancing, but not the social connecting piece with each other?
Well, this is Rachel. Did you want to go first, Becca?
Nope, you can go for it.
Okay, so the ARC of the US, which we're all members of, has done a lot of work getting information out to us to share with providers and families about keeping your distance. And I know the providers in town are doing a really great job of ensuring that they are keeping folks home, or that they're limiting access to day programs and things like that. We work with some of the most vulnerable individuals who have high or low, they're immunosuppressed. And so our families are pretty used to social distancing just as habit. But we just encourage people to be safe and wash your hands. And I just wanted to quick answer one other question. I had posted something about fingerprinting, and Janelle had posted something. So at the ARC, we checked with Public Health and Grand Forks, and they gave us the blessing to continue to do fingerprinting by appointment for people who work in the medical profession or direct service, or those important services that we need to keep going. And so we do have a vetting process for them to be able to come into our building just to prevent the spread of illness. And we're taking extra cleaning precautions as well. But if someone does need fingerprinting during the week, Monday through Friday, they can call our office and schedule an appointment, and we will see if we're able to help them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Becca.
No, I agree with everything Rachel said. With our clients, typically we serve, many of our donors are, we're going to see the age range of 40 and older. So we're probably one of the first to go remote, just because, we don't want people in our office. We really didn't want people out and about. A lot of what we can do is over the phone, over opportunities like video conferencing and whatnot. And so we're still trying to maintain operations just as normal, just taking out the in-person piece and encouraging others to do that. Going back on what Rachel was talking about with hours, I would encourage everyone to log their hours with the Grand Forks Herald. They do have an email that you can email your change of hours to, and they are keeping everything up to date on the Herald's website. So we're also encouraging our donors that before stopping by an office, before putting something in the mail, that they, there's the email address, great, that they just put in a phone call or put in an email to those organizations just to make sure, that everything is still up to date. I know some have had to utilize different means of getting their mail, whether that be a PO box or holding mail. So just call ahead before, venturing out or putting something in the mail that you might not want to get lost.
Great. I do want to read this one suggestion. I can't see who it came from. It just says iPhone 3. But the suggestion is that if the group that is here today could pool the needs of nonprofits, especially any of those caused by any underfunding because of the change of infrastructure in the counties, you should get together and send it to the governor. They suggested that the state should be the next line of funding for social services, and there's power in collective voice coming together and supporting one another in their needs at this time.
I would also echo, in my introduction, those survey results from the Dakota Medical Foundation. If you go to Dakota Medical Foundation's website, you'll see those results, and those have been passed on to the states. Again, those were 230 nonprofits across North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota that those results were compiled from. If we'd like to do something more locally, I know that those results contained information from nonprofits here. Dave Senna and I have talked about whether it would be of use to do a more local survey, but we also know that we have all been inundated with a lot of surveys recently. So if that is something that a majority of people would like to see, we're happy to do it to get some more localized data, but we have results from general nonprofits across North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota. And also there was a request about talking about Bremer Trust dollars. Bremer, the Otto Bremer Trust has put together a $50 million fund to provide assistance in a 4-state region, and they are currently taking requests. From my call with them, they are primarily doing loan requests at this time. However, they will entertain requests for grant dollars. You can find that information if you go to the resources page on our website, so gofoundation.org/resources. There is a listing of 10 or so different funders, and Otto Bremer's information is there.
Dave Senna also linked the survey, Becca, that you were talking about earlier in the chat box. So if people wanted to scroll and check it out before, they can. Otherwise, again, we'll have that information that we can share as we are compiling all of the chat that's coming in. And that's the survey to collect information from the nonprofits specifically. There's a question here from Blue Weber, and he is asking whether there are talks about, with all the events that are being canceled because of COVID, what is going on to try and organize the rescheduling of those events so that they're not all happening at the same time and groups are kind of scheduling on top of one another, so it's not an issue. I'm wondering, Mayor Brown, would you be able to speak to that as how the city is helping, or maybe Heather even, is Kenna working together with its organizations to make sure that when we start rescheduling those events that it's not going to be all at each other's expense as well?
Well, I just think we'll have to work together on that and see how we can accomplish those things. But it'll be a while before we start working on any group activities.
And it looks like we have a note too from Pete Haga that says that public info from the city can help with scheduling as well when it comes time to pull back together as a community and start having those kinds of gatherings.
Yeah, the Kenna Group hasn't gone through and discussed anything about going through and rescheduling any events that either we were going to be doing or some of us were going to be participating in. So we'll have to see as time goes on.
I'm wondering.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know who that was, so go ahead.
Okay.
I wanted to answer that last question. I'm wondering what a lot of the nonprofits that we have here today on the panel, what are you doing with your volunteers and your employees to kind of shepherd them through this time? Yes, your main focus is to serve your clients, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your employees are having a hand as well throughout this trying time when there's a lot of anxiety, but then also to keep your volunteers connected during this time as well. Are there any tips that you'd like to share with the other nonprofits that are maybe online today that you think could be helpful?
This is Rachel. So we have been just calling and texting and messaging our volunteers and our employees just to see how they're doing, to make sure if they have any questions, how we can support them. I mean, there's no really magic way that we're doing it. We're just trying to stay connected with them.
In terms of volunteers, a little bit off that on a tangent, but I was talking to Microsoft Philanthropies a couple days ago or yesterday, and I know that they're going into a month of giving, and generally they send their employees out into the community to do volunteer projects. Obviously, that's not going to be an opportunity right now. But they are looking for options to do virtual volunteering. So whether that's helping with technology or if there's other things that their employees can be doing for you. I mean, that could be anything that they could do at a distance. If you want to just send me an email and I can pass that information along to them. I don't have a public URL for that. But I can certainly pass that on because they are looking for virtual opportunities for their employees to volunteer.
That's great. A message in the chat box from CZVIC says that they are sending out daily email updates from their internal crisis management team and hosting Zoom conferences weekly. Their crisis management team is also rounding daily with staff who are working in the office to keep them updated on what's going on and the status of their organization as well.
I can kind of address the Giving Hearts Day question a bit. So the Giving Hearts Day website, and this is just for my North Dakota funders phone call that I had this week, that we have every week, and they have transformed their website into a DMF Helping Hands website. So any nonprofit that has participated in Giving Hearts Day, you had that portal account on there that was public, and that has now been pushed over to the DMF Helping Hands portal. So donors can go on there and give directly to your organization. You can also update your account on there with your current needs, what you're working on in terms of the COVID-19 response and crisis. Also, there is an application. So if you go to the DMF website and you scroll to the bottom, there is an email that you can send, and they will send you the application. So even if you're not a Giving Hearts Day participant or nonprofit, you can still have your profile on that portal, and you just have to fill out an application. And in fact, I think I have the direct link to the application that I can provide.
That would be great if you could put that in the chat box, Becca. Terry, we haven't asked you very many questions directly, and so I'm wondering, there's been, I've heard a lot of chatter in the community about what's going on for people who are maybe experiencing layoffs or furloughs, who maybe are struggling to pay their mortgages or their rent. What kind of supports is the Grand Forks Housing Authority working on or already providing to the community, as well as for the people that are already on assistance?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, if you are currently on assistance and you do lose your employment or source of income, I encourage everyone to immediately contact your voucher administrator or your landlord and advise them. You can actually go online, and we have a notice of change form online where you can notify the Grand Forks Housing Authority of reduction in income, and we will immediately start processing a reduction in rent that would take effect the first of the following month. We also have all of our staff available. Most of them are working at home. We have a requirement that they do come in 1 day a week or 8 hours a week, but they are working at home, and they are available to anyone that we are assisting today. And we do take applications online for both the properties that we manage and for our Housing Choice Voucher program. I encourage anyone that needs housing that currently isn't on assistance to make that application today. We are trying to determine if we can make a method available where we can start acting on current applicants as readily as we could act on existing applicants, and that way we try to accommodate those that are now experiencing that problem. HUD has recommended, and we are following suit, that any of the programs that we administer, we will not begin any eviction process or termination process as a result of non-payment of rent if it is in relation to the pandemic that is ongoing. And we encourage all of the landlords that we administer our HAP programs through, that they follow suit with that they do not initiate any evictions. So hopefully we can make it through this next few months and come out the other side. We are not, just so everyone knows though, that rents that are due are not being forgiven. At least I haven't seen any source of funds yet from HUD that would cover any rents that are due. We will just not collect them at this time if they are unable to pay them. We will, however, enter into a repayment agreement when we get on the other side of this.
Thank you. There's some chats in the chat box. Marissa from Habitat for Humanity said that they won't be foreclosing on any families who can't make payments because of COVID-19, and they're working with any of those families that reach out to them to find resources to stay financially stable. It looks like Dave Senna also shared from the United Way that people who are in need of rental assistance can get in touch with the United Way. They'll be helping with rental assistance based on need and funds available through their R1 fund. Another question that came up in our chat box asked from Penny Millspa, how do you see agencies being supported that are not necessarily service-based agencies such as the arts? Becca, I'm wondering if you could speak to this.
Yep. First off, and this is applicable to arts and other organizations. So our grantees, we have several different grant cycles every year, and if you currently have a grant that was awarded to you and you are no longer able to fulfill the activities of that grant, instead of returning the dollars to us, go ahead and send me an email and we'll have a conversation. We are going to be flexible in terms of making sure that our nonprofits can stay open and can be financially healthy without laying people off, that they're able to have technology so that they can work remotely as needed. So if you do fall in that category, please let us know. We do have a significant donor that's going to be making a deposit into our nonprofit relief fund, and those are going to be dollars that are specifically for community engagement and information organizations. So there is going to be assistance for those arts organizations in our community and others that, they're not on the front lines, they're not the health and human services, but they are being significantly impacted as well. So we know for sure that we're going to have dollars available for those, and that'll be, as we get more information in the next week here, we'll be releasing that via press release and on our website.
Thank you. There's another question that popped up back to Terry regarding evictions. Are you currently issuing evictions and processing them for non-COVID related reasons, or is there a moratorium that's been put on them through the Grand Forks Housing Authority?
The only evictions that we will pursue at this time are those that are resulting from criminal activity, where the other households or other family members are at risk of being harmed. All other evictions, and we will not process at this time.
I see that we had another comment on the way from Development Homes about how they are messaging with their staff and keeping their spirits up. It looks like they were delivering food to all of their locations to keep up the morale and the spirits of their workers. That's a great way to do that, and it's even better if you can do it locally through small businesses. It's how nonprofits and businesses can support one another in the community. It does look like there is another comment from High Plains Fair Housing Center that did note that the North Dakota Supreme Court did put a moratorium on all evictions. So Terry, again, does that include what you were speaking about?
Oh yes, that would include what I was just speaking about, that we will not pursue any evictions other than life-threatening evictions. Criminal activity.
So those are not included under the moratorium that the North Dakota Supreme Court did that moratorium?
I would suspect not. I do not know of the decision that the Supreme Court put out, but I would suspect that is not included.
Okay. Heather, I'm wondering if you, on the tail of that, I'm wondering if you could share with the group the services that would be available for people who are housing insecure then, if for whatever reason they found themselves homeless. We don't have a lot of family shelter supports in our community. And so I'm wondering if you had any information that you could share with the providers that we have here.
Let me look really quick because I got an email from Sue at the mission. See if she had anything to put in there. See, the only thing that they have in there is just about their food program. Nothing about housing. I don't think they're accepting any new clients coming in right now.
Right.
Just because of COVID-19. Our group really hasn't gone through and discussed anything in regards to homelessness in regards to this, because we haven't had a meeting, before it hit big time in regards to what we were going to be doing. But that is something that I can check into and get back to somebody in regards to it, so it can be added into the information for everybody.
Thank you.
Just going back to Penny's question, I saw one more question she had at the end of that about the Arts Re-Grant program. Those notifications are not delayed and they'll be going out on Monday. So those 14 arts organizations that applied will receive notice on Monday. Not only about grant awards, but about flexibility in terms of the programs that they submitted funding for.
Okay. We are running low on time now, and so I do want to again thank all of our panelists for coming today and everyone who joined us from at home or in your offices at safe distances from any other employees. I do want to circle back and ask our panelists to share just a brief closing statements of anything that they want to share based on the questions today or what they're hoping to do moving forward with the nonprofits. And so I am going to start with you, Mayor Brown.
I think it's so important to cares and people have access now to give these times. So I really appreciate the community coming together.
Thank you. And Terry?
I just posted, I just saw that the president has signed into law the CARES legislation, so that is now in effect. And I'm hoping that we will continue to get additional funding through those resources to provide additional assistance to those in need, in their housing needs.
Great. Rachel?
I just want to say that we will continue to try to connect with the nonprofit, pull the nonprofit business community together on phone calls so we can support each other and share updates. And if you do have something for the Nonprofit Business Alliance group, you have a question, you have something you want to send out, you can send me an email at rhafner@arcuv.com.
Wonderful. And Heather?
The Kenna Group, we're going to try and meet if we have to, at least the executive committee will try and meet over Zoom or something in regards to that, just so we can try and get information out to everybody in regards to what we're doing. Options is still going through, and we're working with individuals that we work with, whether through phone calls, text messages, emails, FaceTime, try and keep them all in the loop about what's happening, as well as trying to keep in contact with our coworkers.
Great. And last but not least, Becca.
Thank you all for joining in. As I mentioned, if you're looking for information, please check out our website, gofoundation.org. There's resources, there's the relief fund information. That's going to be, where everything's posted first and foremost. If you have any other questions, if there's other ways that the foundation can assist you, whether it's with grants or looking for funding, moving to remote operations, whatever it might be, give us an email. It's communityfoundation@gofoundation.org. Thanks.
Perfect. Also, please remember that if any of your questions or concerns weren't addressed today, or you have follow-up questions to the ones that you posted in the chat box, remember that there is a transcript that was being recorded from today's listening session, and we will be able to go back and follow up with you. Again, the intention of these sessions is to start off and continue a dialogue so that we can come together as a community to best serve all of our people. You will be able to find this information. I did see that a couple of you had asked where you'd be able to find this, and we had posted a link right in the chat box as well for people on the Grand Forks grandforksgov.com business website where you can go and see the business listening sessions there. You'll be able to see the transcript as well as watch the video again for any of those questions. So it looks like we don't have any other further questions at this time. Again, I want to thank you all for coming today. I know that everyone, especially nonprofits, are very, very busy. You're doing double duty a lot of times because your staff is slowly dwindling down. We are here to support you in any way that you can. If you would like to reach out to me, you can certainly do that on email at kdockler@grandforksgov.com. I know that the other panelists today have also listed their contact information within the chat box that will be available on the video as well as in the transcript. We're gonna get through all of this together. It is unknown times. There's a lot of anxiety, but at the same time, there's a lot of good that's going on. And I think that that is really what makes Grand Forks so special and unique and the kind of place where nonprofits can thrive. So again, thank you for coming today.
Thanks.